Plenty of celebrities end up owning or at least renting their own private island, but not very many of them want to build a brand new eco-city on it. But that's exactly what Idris Elba, who's been in things like Luther, The Wire, Pacific Rim, the Thor movies and Sonic the Hedgehog 2, is planning on doing. He wants to regenerate Sherbro Island, just off the coast of Sierra Leone in West Africa. And Sierra Leone's government has actually agreed to let him have a go.
Never in my lifetime would I have thought I could, help build the foundation for a new smart city. No, I'm not qualified for that. But I am qualified to dream big.
But why is the British actor doing this? And will any of these grand plans actually happen? I'm Alex Rhodes, this is What in the World from the BBC World Service, and on this episode, we're going to find out. To go into this with me, I've got David Waddell, a BBC business reporter who's actually spoken to the man himself. Hello, David.
Hello.
So, what are his plans then? What's he planning to do here?
So there are two people behind this project. One is Idris Elba, the other is Siaka Stevens. He is the grandson of a former president of Sierra Leone of the same name, Siaka Stevens. They're wanting to regenerate Sherbro Island, which is a big island off the coast of this West African country. It's about 600 kilometres squared. It's a little bit smaller than Singapore. It's about twice the size of Malta. And it's a very rural territory, but they have big plans to regenerate, to bring electricity for the first time to the people who live there, and other infrastructure.
So in the article that you've written on the BBC News website, you say there's about 30,000 people living there, but they're hoping to expand this to up to 1 million.
Yeah, just under, at the last census taken in 2013, just under 29,000 people. So they're talking about developing the island in such a way that may attract up to, Siaka tells me, a population of up to 1 million people. Now, I put it to Idris that multiplying the population of an island like this by 30 times could change the character of the island. Idris was very clear he doesn't want to do that. It's very important to him that the character of the island remains as it is. Indeed, if you look at Singapore, for example, I mentioned that Singapore has a population of 6 million people in a territory that's just only a little bigger. So, maybe it is possible that an island like this could accommodate a population of so many more people without destroying the character.
And so this island, it's fairly low population, as you say, fairly underdeveloped. Not a lot of people are connected to the electricity grid at the moment. What are some of the sort of specific plans that they want to see happen there? How do they want to transform this place?
Well, in fact, if you look at Sierra Leone, fewer than 3 in 10 people across the whole country have access to mains electricity. No one has access to electricity in Sherbro Island, or mains electricity at least. So that's one of the aspects, is to build infrastructure that would include roads and ports infrastructure, and to bring better transport links to the island, both to the island and within the island. Develop some buildings around the main town of Bonthe, which therefore would become the city in question. And Octopus Energy Generation, which is a British company, is going to build several wind turbines there, along with a solar array and battery infrastructure. So the idea then is that people could either derive their power from that plant on a microgrid, or that people could bring EV cars or motorcycles to the power plant to power them up from there.
And the idea is not just to kind of build this purely for the benefit of, I suppose, people living there already, but also to kind of make it a bit of a destination for, businesses and tourists and things like that.
Yeah, I put this to Idris. What kind of tourism were they looking for? He said, bring your family. And I must say that when I showed this interview to my wife, she said, Idris has spoken of me. Yes, he has, I guess so. But also business tourism. He's talking about bringing businesses. Here are some of the specific things he told me.
I'm a filmmaker. I have a dream to have a really amazing film studio there that has a sort of Universal Studios type theme. So my roller coaster is over there and my movie over there. I think you and your family will go to a place where there's winter sun. It's 7 hours away from Europe and it's beautiful.
So does he think this is actually realistic then? Is he being serious? Because this seems like, for a man who sometimes gets sort of bandied around, is he going to be the next James Bond? But controlling your own island sounds like Bond villain sort of stuff. Is this going to happen?
So, he's a big name. He has his finger in a number of pies. I don't see him wanting to associate himself with a project that doesn't have realistic expectations around it. It's also the case that President Julius Bio, who's the leader of Sierra Leone, signed a contract with Sherbro Alliance Partners 5 years ago. It's a public-private partnership. That's how they'll fund it. So government money will go into it, but also money from a number of big companies. These companies aren't going to invest in something that they imagine would be a damp squid. So I guess the plan is to make something of it. But there's been a number of other African projects. One is the Akon City and also the Malaysian eco-satellite city in Uganda. These haven't borne the fruit that some hoped they would. So there's a lot of scepticism around whether this will come to fruition.
Let's pause there for a moment. We'll come back to David in just a bit, but he mentioned Akon City there. That's a name you might not have heard in a while. Back in 2018, the rapper Akon, you know, the smack that, get on the floor, smack that, you know, that guy, he announced very ambitious plans for a very futuristic city in Senegal. Here's Akon chatting with the BBC in December 2022.
We want the big skyscrapers, we want all of that, because my goal is to try to build something that people deem impossible in Africa, right? I plan to retire in that city. I want to make sure that I'm, fully involved in the process of, things that's being implemented there. I don't like to use the word the king of the city, but that's what it will turn out to be, you know what I'm saying?
The sketches and mock-ups were pretty incredible, even getting compared to Wakanda from the Marvel movies. The first phase of construction was supposed to be finished at the end of last year, so where is it? Borso Tool is a journalist in Senegal. She recently visited the site.
So basically what we've had for the past years is promises, attempts, a lot of setback, as he calls it, delays, etc. And then lately I was just talking to one of the young people I met at the time of my first visit when I found nothing on site, nothing but goats. And he said that anything that might have changed is just the clearance of the area. All the trees were taken out, uprooted, but nothing has been still built. But the area, about 50 hectares, just waiting for the project to start. People still have hope that even if they don't work there personally, their children, especially the mothers, they believe that their children may work there. Young people still believe that there's a chance. Some of them are even taking trainings, in restoration, in cooking and other activities that they could do if the area is built. It just needs more funding probably to start this huge adventure. People from disappointment to disappointment since 2018 think of it more as a joke right now. It's kind of sad, but as a joke. The news made it very, very widely known that in Senegal, hopefully there will be skyscrapers as huge as those that they see on TV, that they hear about on social media. And just imagine that the entire world will be focusing on this real-life Wakanda.
So Akon City is running a bit behind schedule. Let's get back to Idris Elba's eco-city in Sierra Leone now. David told me that the government is on board and that there's real money going into it from the private sector as well.
Octopus is on track to build the wind farm this year or at latest next year. So I guess we'll see what happens, whether that happens. But the timescale now on that is short. They're expecting to be able to install those wind turbines quickly as a method of delivering electricity quickly to the island. The success of this project, we can only judge it with hindsight, but there are very high expectations.
Yeah, the intentions are certainly there, aren't they? And Idris Elba's got he's got a family connection to Sierra Leone, doesn't he?
He does. His father is from Sierra Leone. His mother's from Ghana. His parents married in Sierra Leone before setting off to London, where Idris himself was born in the early 1970s. I asked Idris about this and he told me his motivation for the project.
Never in my lifetime would I have thought I could, help build the foundation for a new smart city. No, I'm not qualified for that. But I am qualified to dream big. And my parents came to this country when they were young, late 60s, with the aspirations of going home. My mum's still alive, but my dad isn't. So part of me wants to build that beautiful retirement home for my mum where she can go back and say, wow, my little guy that was born in Hackney came back home and built this incredible island. And it's a dream, but I work in the make-believe business, and it's exactly that, make-believe,
Your mum, I think, is Ghanaian, but your father is Sierra Leonean, and you've just mentioned that he's no longer with us. How do you think he would feel to see you getting behind this project?
I think he'd think that I was dreaming way too big. First of all, he'll say, like, why Sherbro? That's miles away from my village. Then secondly, he'd say, look, if you're going to do it, make sure you do it properly, do it good, do it with all your heart, because that's the best you could do. I think he'd be proud, though.
One of the things that jumped out from your article for me was the bit where, we said the government was on board, but they've designated the whole sort of area, the island, as a special economic zone with a separate legal and economic system from the rest of Sierra Leone. What do the people who live there now think? Because I don't know how I would feel if suddenly, the actor who's in Sonic the Hedgehog 2 rocks up and is now basically put in charge of where I live.
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, there's been some reaction on social media to where I've posted this article or the interview associated with it. There's been a suggestion, for example, that someone who's a Hollywood actor, what does he know about what the people of Sierra Leone need? They need electricity, they need roads and such like. They don't necessarily need wind turbines. But I guess the answer to that is without the wind turbines, without the investment, you don't get your roads, you don't get your electricity. So it's not just about delivering eco-friendly electricity for the people who live there. It's about getting any electricity at all. And a question I put to Octopus Energy, being that they're the ones that will build the wind farm, what was it that drove you to partner with international film and TV star Idris Elba? And the answer to that for them is partly to respect the fact that he is an internationally famous actor and having that association is valuable to them, but also that he and Siaka Stevens seem to understand the territory. They both have roots there. It's important to them that this succeeds, and they understand some of the key features of renewable electricity and why Sherbro Island would be an attractive place to build both a wind farm and a solar farm. There's plenty of wind there and there's plenty of solar energy there. So it's lending his name to a big project like that, but also for him and for Siaka, it's understanding the details of what that territory needs.
And to put my sort of cynical hat on here, is he going to make any money out of this?
Well, that was something I wondered as a business journalist. Would there be profits? My question to Idris, what would happen to those profits?
When you talk about profits, it's really about, are we ever going to make a profit? I don't think so, but it's about being self-reliant. It's about bringing an economy that feeds itself, that has growth potential. And I'm very keen to sort of reframe the way Africa is viewed. We often view the framing of Africa as an aid model, and this opportunity is completely different.
Finally, you can kind of see why, like you sort of said, Octopus Energy would be attracted to someone like Idris Elba. I mean, let's be honest here, it's one of the reasons why we're talking about this story today, how we got some of the attention because of the sort of star power he brings. Was there a bit of star power in that interview? Was he a nice guy to chat to?
He's very warm. He was good-humoured, both before and after the interview, and you just don't know what you're going to get. I've never spoken to him before. It was great to get an A-list interviewee for our business programme, but also to get someone who wasn't just there to talk about his films or his TV shows, but there to talk about a really interesting business story.
David, thank you very much. And who knows, you might be one of the first guests of honour when they break ground on this mega hotel that they'll eventually build on this island.
Bring it on, I'm keen to be there.
They say Rome wasn't built in a day, and Akon City, well, that might not get built ever, really. Idris Elba's plans seem a bit more realistic, and it looks like he has the partners and the cash to make at least some of it happen. But it's not easy for anyone to build a new city, even states and countries. They have to consider things like the environment and the impact of the people living there right now. We did a whole episode on some of the troubles governments and developers run into. It's called Why Governments Are Building Huge Cities from Scratch, and you can find it wherever you get your BBC podcasts. That's it for this episode of What in the World from the BBC World Service. I'm Alex Rhodes, and maybe one day I'll see you on Sherbro Island. First round's on me. I'll see you next time. Bye.